this little plug for the filter. This is a must-have. There's not really much room between these. That thing is genius right there. This oil and this oil. Okay, today I'm going to do the oil change on my 2018 Ram 3500 Cummins. So the supplies that I'll need to do that is I'll need 3 gallons of this T6 oil. I'm using the 15W40. Of course, you need a new oil filter. I'm using the MO285 Mopar filter. As far as tools go, first you need a ratchet and you need a 3/8 extension. The tip of the extension is what is actually used to loosen the drain bolt. When we're done and I'm going to torque it, I'm going to use more torque wrench to the right specification and torque that down. We also, of course, need a filter wrench. I don't think my hands are going to be strong enough to just manhandle that thing out of there, so I got something to grip it and get it started with. This is an oil filter plug. When we take the filter down and we drop it, we're going to put this plug back in to plug it up so that we can, when we get it out of the truck and turn it sideways, we don't spill oil all over the place. So we're going to try using that. Of course, I'm going to have a drain pan. This is a 20-quart drain pan. We're going to be pulling about 12 quarts of oil out of the truck. And then I got a funnel to make it a little bit neater and easier to get it into the engine. I am actually going to measure the amount of oil that goes into my drain pan here, and I'm going to put it back into these containers, the bad oil. But to measure it, I'm going to use this quart, this 2.5 quart container, like I did for my transmission fluid replacement. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be using that nobody else is going to have to do is I'm going to be using multiple lights and GoPros in different positions to try to get the best view I can when showing how to do this procedure. Just to show you what it takes to get these shots. Okay, I got the truck ready. I put it up on just a couple of blocks, gives it 3 inches of lift in the front. Because the way the oil pan is designed, I want to make sure that the oil in the front of the pan drips to the back of the pan where the drain plug is. I was on a little bit of a slope here where I'm parked. I want to make sure I was a little bit elevated. Plus, it just gives me a couple more inches of room to get under there. This truck is pretty tall, so you don't really need it for the room to get in there to pull the drain bolt. But it's nice to have just a couple extra inches to work with. And I have the emergency brake on. One other thing I forgot to mention that's really helpful to have is a stool like this. These trucks are super tall. Sometimes, like when I did the CCV filter, I had to actually climb up inside the truck. But to be able to get an old man into the truck, I got my trusty stool here to help me get to that when I go to put the fluid back in. Now, I'm also using the removable wall that I put in my basement as a board because these rocks right here are brutal on the back. So I'm doing that to kind of save my back a little bit when I'm laying down, pulling the oil drain plug. You get under the truck, place my oil drain pan. This socket in here, we're going to loosen this drain bolt. It's not as easy as it looks. Okay, the GoPros are both, I think, recording. Okay, we're going to loosen that. We're going to move the pan back in place. And be careful to turn this. I'm going to get some gloves for that. I got that loosened. And make sure my pan is in a good place here. I didn't mention gloves in parts and tools and supplies, but definitely need some gloves. It's a really long plug. Ready? And there it goes. Got a little bit on the GoPro. There's about 12 quarts of fluid in one of these huge Cummins engines, so it takes a little while. I would definitely give it another 10 or 15 minutes or so and make sure it completely drains out. Looks like it's down to a trickle now. Okay, came back about 10 minutes later and it's still draining, so I'm gonna let it drain a little bit more. So I'm gonna replace the plug. Plug back in there, get a little oil on the hands there. Should have worn a glove. Zip that in there. I'm going to snug this. Okay. Okay, that's torqued to 40 foot-pounds. Get it all nice and clean. And now we're going to do the filter. Okay, now we are accessing the filter right through this hole here. And I'll close it in on a second. So I got my filter wrench and I got my plug ready to put inside the plug. I'm going to drop it down in there. There's a little place to drop it down into and then screw that in there, I hope. So let's move in here and see what that looks like. See if I can film this and do it at the same time, which is not going to be easy. Let's see here. Okay, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy to get in and put this wrench in here and film. Okay, got the turn. It's turning. Not easy. I got that on film. Okay, it does look like it's turning anyway. Okay, that's good. So we're gonna put this on there again. It's not easy. It's turning now. Let's see if I can get my hand back in there and see if I can turn it now. There we go. Able to turn it with my hand now. So I got it loose. And make sure my drain pan is under there. Okay, so I've moved. You can see where the oil filter is there. I got my drain pan right underneath it. A lot of threads there. Okay, so the idea is supposedly you can slide that down and sit it right there. Okay, let's see if I can sit it. Okay, so you can see, well, I've got it sitting right there. Let's see if I can get that light in there any better. Now, I'm going to try and take this thing. It wouldn't be harder for most people because they will be doing this. So you can see I'm just spinning it on there. Let's see, what's that? I'm going to spin on there too good, does it? Oops, I'll make sure it doesn't fall. It's not easy to spin it on there. What's the kind of cross thread? Okay. Okay, I think I got it on there nice and tight. Now I'm just gonna take the filter out here. So I fit through this little hole. Not easy, but you can see if you didn't have this, you'd be pouring oil all over the place. Okay, the cool thing is, when you get it out, this thing's on there nice and tight. I mean, you could like hold it upside down and not a drop of oil has come out of this. That thing is genius right there. Yeah, definitely don't do this filter change without one of these little plastic pluggy things. Now, I'm not sure if this part is absolutely necessary. Some people say to do it, some people say not to. But I'm just going to pour some oil in here. And the reason I'm doing that, I wanted to see if my little pluggy thing can work reverse. I'll make sure I oil that gasket really good. I made sure that the filter that I took off, the gasket came off with it. Okay, so I just want to show you what you can see. You can see the difference between this oil and this oil. There's a big difference in, this is some nasty oil right here. I should probably pour some of that to show you. I'm going to clean this off. I fill it up just a little bit more, get it maybe like half full. Okay. I'm going to take my little plug back on here. Now it will be a little harder to screw it on, I think, because it's heavier. But I'm going to try this to see how that works. Oh, I got that ready to install. Okay, so what I'm going to do this time, I want to see if I could reach in there and clean the surface of that filter, which is right here. I want to make sure the area that interfaces with the filter is clean. This circled area is where the filter mounts. Also make sure the gasket has been removed. Now I got to take this and push it back in the same way I got it in there, got it out of there. Let's see. There's not really much room between those two pipes right there. So now I got it in there. This is gonna be hard. Now I think I put it on too tight. I think I did put it on too tight. Pull it out. Put it a little looser at a time. Put it in there. Got that in there. Now I'm going to unscrew this little thing. You tilt that there so it's still there. The trick is, how do I screw that up there and film this at the same time? This is going to be tough. Here. Guess I'm really going to get my hand to the bottom of the filter there. Let me see if I can feel it. There it is right there. Okay. Okay. I actually got it started. Wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Okay. Oh, I gotta take a break. So now I gotta get the good grip on this. Turn it as much as I can with my hand. Okay, let's try and get my hand all the way back in here. I got it pretty tight, but I'm gonna have to use a wrench because my grip is bad. Normally you would not use a wrench to tighten an oil filter, but I have rheumatoid arthritis in my hands, so I don't have the strength to make sure it is tight enough. I use my wrench to give it a final snug. You can see here what it looks like when the filter's turning from the engine compartment. I can't undo it, so that's tight enough. Filter done. Before I put the oil back into the truck, I'd like to measure all the oil I removed. I pour it from the pan into a 2-quart bucket, then into empty 1-gallon water bottles. I also drain the oil from the filter and add it to the jugs. Accounting for some waste on rags and drippage, I figured I had about 11 quarts of used oil. Now the easy part. I remove the oil fill cap and use my funnel to start pouring the 1-gallon jugs of oil into the engine. 2 full jugs, and I pour all but 1 quart from the last jug for 11 quarts total. So 2.5 quarts, I'm going to bring it down to like 1 quart. I used the transparent measuring guide on the side of the jug. I ended up with about 11 quarts coming out. So right now I'm putting 11 back in. Okay, got about a quart left in there. Check the level right now, just as it is. I check the engine oil before I start the engine. It says it's a little low, but in the safe zone. I get into the truck and cycle the ignition from off to run for 20 seconds, then off again. I do this several times to make sure oil has filled the oil filter. Okay, now we're going to start her up. Cycle through to oil temperature and oil pressure. 48 psi.
Recording. 2 channels started.
And oil temperature.
Wi-Fi enabled.
You can check to make sure that that all is good. I'm going to back it up off my things. I want it to be level again. I'm going to let that run for a minute, and then we're going to check the oil level again. Okay, we're going to check the engine oil again. Make sure it's nice and clean. It's a little on the low side. Let's check it again. It's in the safe, but it looks like I can add that extra quart. Add that last quart. Should be safe. Okay, I'm going to start it up again, and then we're going to check it again. I let the engine run for a couple of more minutes. Try it again. It's right in the middle of safe. It's right in the center of the word safe. Or just a little bit at the end of E in safe. So I think we're good to go. So we put the full 3 gallons into the truck. I pour the oil back from the water jugs and put them into their original containers so I can take them back to be recycled at AutoZone. Okay, the last thing we have to do is reset the oil life meter on the dash. You go to the oil life screen. It tells you here that you have to reset, you have to turn the engine off and turn the ignition back on again to the run position, and then get back to the oil life screen. Hit the little forward arrow button on the steering wheel, and you hold that, and then it will ask you if you want to reset. You say okay, and then you go back to your oil life back at 100% again. This little plug for the filter, this is a must-have for changing this. I can't imagine pulling that filter out. You'd have to tilt it and you'd pour oil all over the place. But with this, I didn't actually drip 1 drop. I didn't even need to have the pan down there, my drain pan, because nothing dripped out. So I would say if you're going to do this oil change, definitely get one of these. They're like $10 on Amazon. You know, many different companies sell them. I just got this cheap plastic one. Okay, I just finished checking the oil, and the oil level is great. One thing I would add about doing this procedure yourself is that the condition of the oil after 15,000 miles was terrible. And when you're just checking the dipstick, you can't really tell. But seeing the oil go into the containers when I was repouring it really lets see how bad the oil is. I don't think I'm going to wait to 15,000 miles next time. I'm going to probably do it around 10 and see what the oil is like. But that's just one more reason to do the oil change procedure yourself instead of taking it to the dealer. Do you have a Ram with the Cummins engine? Are you doing some of the maintenance items yourself? you can save a lot of money doing things like we did today, changing the oil and oil filter. I've done another video where I changed the transmission filter and fluid, and then I've done the CCV filter myself. Each one of these things can save you hundreds of dollars, and because of the amount that we drive, we have to do this multiple times per year. So if you don't already do your truck maintenance yourself, watch these videos. I'm going to leave a playlist right over here for you to check out, and then think about tackling them yourself. Save the money and get to know your Ram truck. Now, if you like this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the link down there. And remember, downsizing does make sense.